Okay, here we go. Accurate TSX, 1,650 Baltimore, 1,950 West Virginia, 2,350 New Jersey. Looks like a bidding war. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, today's episode, we're taking a ride to a JDM engine importer. I want to go ahead and see what K24 engines they got to offer. Now, particularly looking for a K24A, RBB3, or RBB4. So let's go ahead and see what inventory they've got to offer. I guess this one's from an Odyssey because it's got this weird cover and.
No, they're all the same. All they have a cover.
Okay.
So this is RB. This is RBB4.
Okay. Yeah, this is RBB3. This is RBB4.
Yeah, they all have this cover. All of them.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed on this version is, I guess the power steering pump on that one isn't here on this one. So.
Yeah, that one missing.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'd see on that one. Oh, this is a CRV?
Yeah.
Okay.
2006-7.
And these, so it's this row right here, I guess?
They are TSX, yeah.
Okay.
Still, you can use those.
So that's what a K24, like A,
Z1.
A4, Z1, okay.
So what is your project?
A 93 Honda Accord. So this is going to be totally custom, I guess. Okay. You know, with new mounts and wiring and stuff. All right, I think this one might be the key right here. This thing's very clean. I'm gonna have him pull this thing on the forklift, but compared to this one right here and this one right here, these are a little dirty. So hopefully this is an RBB3 or RBB4. So let me have him pull this thing out of the forklift and see what the condition of this thing is. It's got the power steering pump that we want, obviously the alternator, but this thing looks pretty spotless. So hopefully this is RBB3, RBB4. Well, taking a look at this thing off the rack. And bad news, this is an RBB1. We're looking for RBB3 or RBB4. This thing was really clean too, that's just too bad. Okay, went ahead and brought some more engines out. So we got this one right here, obviously a K24. But looking at that block right there, this is an RBB2, so this is no good. And then we got this K24 with this funky engine cover on top. Condition looks really good on this one. And this right here is an RBB4. So this is a good contender right here as well. And we got this K24 right here. But this one's an RBB2, so this one's out. This is a pretty good shape though. Now when you're buying these motors, you want to go and open up the oil fill cap, take a look at the inside, see if there's any sludge buildup. Shine that flashlight down there. Looks pretty clean down there. Looks pretty clean down there. It's relatively clean down there. This is not too bad shape. Does have that funky engine cover on top. So I think it's between this motor right here and that one right here, because these are RBB3s and 4s. I think that one's an RBB2, and that one's out as well, and this one's out as well. That one's got a lot more rust than I want. So I'm trying to decide between this one and that one essentially. And they're both K24s. Let me show you what's going on. So there's the engine stamping right there. It says K24, in case you can't see on camera. Let me show you the other engine. It says K24A right there. K24A is the one you want. Okay, here's contender number 3. I think this is an RBB4 motor. He just took this thing out of the power washer, so it's been cleaned up. As you can see, no rust bolts on the exhaust. That's a good sign, except for that bottom one right there. And right there on the head, RBB4. So he says this is the newest, latest and greatest of the 2004 to 2008. Just making sure you didn't get no water inside the intake port right there. And that's your water outlet right there. And this thing does relatively look clean. And there's the stamping right there, K24A. So technically it's between this engine right here, which is number 3. This is the initial one I had my eye on. And this is the other one right here. So I believe this is RBB4. This right here is RBB3. And right here is RBB4. So this one actually has an undamaged crankshaft right there. So the good thing about contender number 3 is this one has an undamaged pulley right there. It actually includes the power steering pump and the alternator. Now this RBB4 does not include a power steering pump or an alternator, but the crank pulley is undamaged on this one. And this is the RBB3. This doesn't include the power steering pump or the alternator, and this one does have a damaged crank pulley. I don't know if you can see a chip right there and another chip right there on the back side. So let's go ahead and check the oil real quick on these engines. Oil looks very golden on that one. That's pretty good. And check that out, there's a Honda oil filter. So what that probably means is this engine was most likely maintained at a Honda dealer, so that's a good sign. So the engine importer seems to think that this is the best bet. I'm starting to lean towards this one more. How clean this thing is, cleaned up very well. And it does include the power steering pump and the alternator itself and an undamaged pulley. So this one seems to be pretty good. I'm liking this one so far. So let's see what kind of deal you can cut me on this thing. Okay, so it does turn out this engine importer actually has 2 H22s, and these are priced at $1,500 each. Looks like that one's got some custom exhaust header. That one's got some painted exhaust manifold cover. That's a red top, and that's a red top as well. And just to give you the idea on the scarcity of the H22, he's only got 2 in stock, as opposed to all these engines on all these 4 racks in this warehouse. And as far as K24s, it seems like he's got over, I don't know, 50 from what I'm seeing. So it all ranges from CR-V, Odyssey, and a Honda Accord. And these transmissions right here, that's from an all-wheel drive CR-V manual transmission. I think these things are priced at $1,500 each. And as you can see right there, you got the drive shaft connection right there for the rear. And again, these are the K24s that we're deciding against. So this is K24 number 3, which I'm leaning towards. So these are priced at $800 each plus tax. So I think this is a contender right here. This is in pretty good shape. Look at all these bolts, all the rust content and whatnot. This thing's very clean. And as I mentioned before, it includes the alternator, the power steering pump, and an undamaged main pulley right there. Okay, so I think this is the winner right here. And I checked the oil, this thing is golden brown, and on top of that, it's got a Honda oil filter. So this thing was most likely maintained at a Honda dealer. I think this thing's got a good history to it, so let's go ahead and cross our fingers, and hopefully this is the magic engine that propels CB9 successfully.
Started.
Yep.
Good.
Think so.
Right. Thank you, man, for your business.
Alrighty, guys. K24A engine is loaded into the Tacoma. We're gonna strap this thing and head home. I want to give a big shout out to DMV, JDM Motors Incorporated. They treat me very well and gave me a very fair price on this motor, and they got a lot to choose from. So if you're looking for a JDM engine, so go ahead, give them a call, and they will set you straight with a fair price and a great engine. So kudos to the owner of this business. Treat me very well, and I'm happy so far. So he says he's had no issues with K24s he's sold in the past. I think he's sold about, I don't know, 200 of these things, and he's never had a return. So I feel a little reassured right there. So let me go ahead, strap this motor down to the truck, and we'll go ahead and close the tailgate, and we'll head home. So I think this is a very fair purchase right here. K24 is all strapped down to the truck D-rings. Got 2 D-rings on the bottom of the bed right here. And this truck actually came with some bed rails. And got the front side of the motor tied down with the D-rings, mounted to the bottom of the bed, right there and right there. And then with the back side of the motor, got a tie strap going on top of that. And then I had to open the package for these D-rings right here. So the truck came with these things. It's the first time I'm using them. So I've got this thing snug pretty well. I don't think this motor's going anywhere. So I'm gonna do my best not to do any quick turns or quick stops. So I'm just gonna close this tailgate, cross my fingers that we make it home safely. And then we start the adventure of unloading this thing from the truck. And then once I get this K24 home right here, the fun begins and mounting the plate. So I can go ahead and get this on the motor stand. So I gotta figure out which bolts to use for that motor plate. I might have to go to Lowe's, figure out what lengths I need, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But let's just go ahead, take our time, and get this K24 home. All right, back at home, went ahead and mounted the engine stand bracket to the back of the engine. So this bolt right here actually is fine threads on the actual casing itself. And this is actually a through bolt. I had this left over from the H22. As you can see, I've got grade 8 bolts, grade 8 washers, and grade 8 nuts holding this in place. These things are snug in. Let me take another side. And the way this case series is, you got these 2 bolts are close together. So this is another through bolt. I've got this tightened down pretty well. Remember, grade 8 washer, and a grade 8 nut. And I couldn't find the other bolt I used for the H22. So this is a factory OEM bolt from Honda. Used a washer, tighten this thing down, and then once you tighten these 4 bolts down, then you can go ahead and tighten this down for the bracket itself for the engine stand. Now, as far as hoisting this thing out of the truck bed, I went ahead, got my chain for the engine hoist, took that thing off, and I used a factory Honda bolt right here to go through the factory mount post. So these threads are going in at least 1 inch. This thing is pretty tight. Now I do have a little bit of slack right here in the chain, but that's okay. So when I hook this up to the forklift, I'll be able to hoist this thing up. And let me show on the other side. And this little hook right here, that's from the H22. I actually took that thing off, and there was a threaded mount on the engine block itself. So this 14 millimeter is pretty tight. That thing goes in there a good inch. And so this bolt has been tightened up, and this chain is good to go. So I'm gonna carefully unstrap the tie downs from the engine, move this truck forward, go get my neighbor's tractor and the engine stand ready, and carefully get this thing off, cross my fingers, say a prayer that this engine is undamaged. So this is nerve-wracking, but it is what it is for engine delivery. Now, before we go ahead and get into this next scene, I want to show you guys what it's like to bid on a damaged auction vehicle. Now, when vehicles get into an accident, a vehicle's recovered from theft, insurance will basically put these things in a yard, and the highest bidder will actually take them home, depending on the reserve. Now, I was thinking about buying a damaged auction vehicle just so I can get the engine and transmission out of, thinking I can get the car for cheap, but that's not the case. So let's go ahead and take a look at the auction results. Okay, we got a 2005 Acura TSX 6-speed transmission with 97,000 miles. This is an insurance auction. So this car is going up for auction this morning in a few minutes. Wanted to go over the pictures with you real quick. So as you can see, we got a broken passenger side front wheel. Bumper's broken. Driver's side headlight's gone, and driver's side fenders got damaged. And the primary damage on this is basically front end and suspension. Now, if you look at the interior looks immaculate right there. Back seat is immaculate. So I believe a lot of used car lots are gonna be bidding on this car so they can basically fix this thing and flip it. I was hoping this thing would go for about maybe 1,100 or 1,500 bucks, but I don't think this is the case. Look at these other auctions right here. So right down here on the bottom right, this is basically the live auction. So when this car goes up for auction, I'm gonna zoom in here, and we're gonna actually see what the bids are and where the bidder is located at. So right now we got a 2004 Chevrolet Express commercial van, $150, Spotsylvania, Virginia, $175, Philadelphia, up 200, Spotsylvania. The bidding goes quick on this. You see this line right here? Once this line reaches down here at the red, and then there's no more bids, basically that's when closing. So there's only a few seconds to put bids in. So this van right here is number 148. So this Acura TSX is number 160, so we're coming up close. So let's go ahead and see what this Acura TSX comes into place at. But what interests me most on this car, it's a low mileage K24, plus it's made to a 6-speed transmission, which would be the ultimate donor vehicle for Project CB9. But what I mentioned before is I think this car is gonna sell for big money. I'm guessing maybe $2,000 to $3,000, I don't know, but some used car lot's gonna pick this thing up, fix it up and flip it, because less than 100,000 miles, 6-speed transmission, you know, black color, so it's a desirable color. So we'll go ahead and see what happens with this auction result, and we'll go ahead and zoom in during the live auction. Sold, 2,325. All right. 2015 Nissan Versa, 750, 800, 850. Sold for 850. Okay, here we go. Accurate TSX, 1,650 Baltimore, 1,950 West Virginia, 2,000 New Jersey, 2,050 Baltimore, 2,150 New Jersey, 2,200 West Virginia, 2,250 New Jersey, 2,300 West Virginia, 2,350 New Jersey. Looks like a bidding war. West Virginia, 2,400, 2,450 New Jersey, 2,500 West Virginia. Sold, 2,500 Bunker Hill, West Virginia. So let's plug in 2,500 to see what that car actually goes for. Okay, so I plugged in 2,500 for the sale, 725 for auction fees, $299 for transaction fee, $119 for documentation fee, for a total of $3,653. So that's what the accurate TSX goes for. So just to give you an idea of what a wrecked car will go for. These things are fetching top dollar, and these parts are worth some money. Alrighty guys, we finally did it. Got ourselves a K-Series engine for Project CB9. This is gonna be one incredible build, and I just can't wait to show you all the steps along the way as we make progress. Now, if you can't already tell, I'm very excited about this project, something that hasn't been done on YouTube just yet, a Cord CB K-Swap how-to, and I'm gonna show you all the steps along the way. Anyhow, next video, we'll go over all the details of this K24A engine, the plans for it, and a strategy for the swap into Project CB9. I hope you guys can join us because this is going to be one epic build. Now, if you found this video helpful or entertaining, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day.